Hi, welcome to Mojo Designs. We're going to be painting this cacti. I tried painting this earlier and I had the video wrong, so we got to do it again. I love how it turned out. We used these two photos. We went on a hike this weekend and it was amazing. I'm not sure what these cacti are called, but they're gorgeous. So that's the inspiration for this. I will have these photos on my website if you want to use them for reference at mojodesigns.com. I'm going to be taking my silver black velvet, size 12. These are my favorite brushes. I use a lot of artist quality paint. You don't have to. The brands I like are Daniel Smith, Core, and M. Graham. I do have some Winsor & Newton. I don't really like their artist quality. Now I love Winsor & Newton, their student grade is pretty good. Other brands I like are Da Vinci. I don't have a ton of those, their pigments, but they are gorgeous. Now I'm mixing Green Apatite Genuine and Ultramarine Blue. In the photo it looked like a blue-green kind of smoky color. So that's what we're going to create, and I love using ultramarine because it granulates. It's going to give us a gorgeous texture like we saw in the last one. What we're going to do is we're going to paint and move the palette out of the way. We are going to start with like an upside down teardrop shape. You can go in straight with pigment like I did on your brush. You could pre-wet, do a wet and wet technique, whichever you prefer. I do like the wet and wet, and I like charging pigment into the wet areas. I'm going to add a little more blue, a little more. We're going to go off kind of here. I'm just using straight pigment, then going in right away with some water, rinsing my brush. Watercolor is all about water control. At the same time, letting go and letting the pigment and water do what it's meant to do. So here I'm kind of being fussy. You don't need to be fussy. So let's go in and let's add like another one down here. We can always differentiate between by adding and putting pigment to bring something to the forefront to make it darker. We'll add another one here. And if you notice, sometimes I'm using a little more green, sometimes I'm using a little more ultramarine. And I'll go off here. And then, let's see, let's do one off of here. And I want to do this fairly quickly, and I want to make sure everything is still a little damp. And so here's where you're charging in some pigment. So that's all that means, is you're just adding pigment to areas that are already wet. So here, kind of thinking, not sure balance wise what we need, so we'll just kind of go, let's kind of play and go along. If you notice some of the shapes I don't like right away, that's all right. This is just my interpretation of the photo we took and what we saw. It doesn't have to be. I'm not a realistic lifestyle painter. I have much respect for all different types of artists. So if you paint realism, that to me is a huge talent. I want to get the essence, the emotion, the feel of what I'm seeing. Try and capture that. And then we had like these bright pink flowers. You can use Opera Rose. That is a gorgeous color, especially if you're just doing this on a card. A lot of my paintings I will turn into stationery, different products for my Etsy shop. I'm going to take some raw sienna. Looks like I had a little pink on my brush, no big deal. And we're just going to flood the area. I'm going to take a little bit of brown. You notice the green is flooding into there. That's fine. That's how it looks when it's grown out of the ground, in my opinion. Now these little bit of rough edges, if they're bothering you, you can take care of them, but you don't have to. I grew up watching Bob Ross, so they're only happy accidents. And every plant and wildlife and tree need a friend. So that's all right. We're going to continue to use a size 12. You can go to a smaller brush. If I can, I like to paint with just one brush. Sometimes, depending on what you're doing, you can't. I'm going to dip into some Quin Rose. Now, and you can't see, but I'm patting one end of my brush. The fat barrel, you can kind of see I've pressed this against the towel. I want some of that liquid to be out. These brushes are half synthetic and they are half squirrel hair. So they hold a lot of water. We're just gonna put a few of these flowers here and there. This one I'm going to save where we're gonna do like those buds. So when we look at the picture, it has like these buds and you have several in a row. So I'm gonna do a couple of those over there, maybe one on each side there. Look at that granulation from the ultramarine pigment, is gorgeous. So what happens when you have a sedimentary color, the pigment particles aren't ground as fine. And then what happens is the paper is drying and you have a textured watercolor. Paper is usually textured unless it's hot press, and that's the least textured of the group. Cold press is what I'm using. The pigment's going to settle into all those little ridges and it gives this gorgeous texture. So we have some lightness in here, we have some darkness. You can see all that pigment just kind of settling. I'm going to take a little bit of green because this is still damp to the touch. So it's not sopping wet. And I just want to add a little dimension. And that same green, I'm going to do like these little, I guess, little shoots. And we're just going to do like a row of those. And then I'm going to put a couple over here. I want the pigment to be a little darker. And let's put one. You just want balance, right? Let me change my mind when we're done. picking up that Quinn Rose. Let me get a paper towel so I can show you. So I'm picking up the Quinn Rose, and then I'm going to take the brush, and this is so full of pigment and water, and I want to remove a lot of that moisture. I'm going to dip my tip back into the paint, because then you can get a darker, you know, more pigment versus water. So it's more pure, it's darker. And then these little guys, you just, you know, they just have the slightest little bit of pink. And you can tell it's pink at the top, but at the bottom it kind of soaks in, you know, between the green and the pink. He looks kind of out of place. So I might just put, and see that had a ton of water in it, so I had to wipe my brush off. By wipe it off, I mean, you know, pull some of the water out. And then what if we put, we'll just randomly put a flower here. Then that kind of gives me a visual triangle. It doesn't have to be that way, it doesn't have to be perfect, it's nature. Hi, we are back. This has dried. I'm going to be using some Daniel Smith. It's like a violet shadow color, along with some sepia. And I'm using a different style of brush. This one is 100% synthetic. It is by Wander Forest. They have great points at the edge, so that's why we're going to use these today. This is a little darker, which is totally fine, the paint. You could also use a white and that would look really cute. So we're just going to do little pricklies. I'm not sure what the technical name the prickly of the cacti, but that's okay. All I know is they hurt when you get poked. So I'm just kind of going with the shape, a little random here and there, some is sticking out. Very, very little water to pigment ratio. And then I'm just doing super light strokes. Another thing that you can do is, you see how this is warped. This is all warped. If you tape it down, it's not going to warp. Since a lot of mine I use to digitize my work, I sell a few of my originals. This size I usually paint like on a 5x7 or 9x6. And it's okay to turn the painting. And I'm not being perfect with the little pokies. I'm trying to think what these are called. I'll put a couple. Put one here, we'll put one there. And that is it. If you wanted to, like, it's not the green. This is all detail work, what you want your finished painting to look like. So again, not a ton of water, mostly pigment. I just want to go in here and darken. And I can see I have some water beading. I'm gonna dry it on my paper towel. Rinse everything off. Slightly damp. Any that came to the top there, I'm just blending that in. Some of the pink, I could definitely see a few brighter, darker strokes, so let's go ahead and do that. Again, you do not have to. It just adds a little more depth, especially since these tend to be on the more simple side because they are not realistic, meaning like a realism style painting. Now this warping, once everything dries, the warping, I would run this through my Big Shot between two pieces of paper, usually just a fresh folded in half piece of copy paper, and then with regular sandwich plates, run it through here and it makes it very, very flat. But this is our cacti painting. So thanks everyone. I hope you enjoyed. This is a new style of recording, meaning I'm plugged in right to the camera. This is super fun. Thanks for watching. Many blessings, lots of good creative vibes headed your way.